Welcome back, true believers, to the thrilling second round of our quest to crown the supreme champion of the Marvel Infinity Saga. We've survived the initial clashes, witnessing some surprising upsets and hard-fought victories as we've narrowed down our field from a mighty 23 to a lean and mean 12 cinematic contenders. The stakes are higher, the matchups are tougher, and the debates are about to get even more intense. Tonight, we're raising the bar. For each of these pivotal second round battles, we're bringing in the big guns. In round one, we're honored to welcome our resident comic and Marvel expert, the one and only Liam Reese. Liam will be lending his encyclopedic knowledge and keen insights to dissect the nuances, celebrate the triumphs, and perhaps even point out a flaw or two in each cinematic face-off. He'll be giving us the expert's perspective on what makes these films truly shine within the grand tapestry of the Infinity Saga. Then, in round two, our very own super intelligent AI, Gemini, will step into the arena to weigh Liam's expert analysis and deliver its own definitive verdict on which movie emerges victorious in each head-to-head battle. Get ready for deep dives, passionate arguments, and ultimately, the AI's calculated conclusions as we continue our journey to find the best movie in the Marvel Infinity Saga. Let the second round continue. Alright, Lashmoosh, it's just you and me tonight. No Benoit Bahoud Casse. He had to call out for some family stuff. No big deal. We can still carry the torch, as we always do. Big stuff happening, big stuff going on. Super excited for this one. Last week, let's just recap. Week one, we had Avengers Endgame knock off Black Panther. And then week two, last week, we had, the Gotti Ward of this tournament thus far. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, took down Captain America Civil War in a sixth ranked versus seventh ranked battle. It was back and forth, blow for blow. Really what you wanted to see with this tournament. Awesome stuff. And then tonight, we have the number 2 ranked Avengers Infinity War going against the number 11th ranked Doctor Strange. Super excited for this matchup. Really can't wait to get into it. But I would love to start round one. Liam. I really would. But I can't.
Oh, what's wrong, Matt? Is there something the matter?
Yeah, I'm missing something, bro. I'm missing something, Liam. And I don't know,
You're missing something. That must mean it's time for the tale of the tape.
You're damn right it is. Crushed it. All right. Well, here we go, Daddy. Great lead in there, Lashmoosh. All right, let's get ready for a mystical showdown against a cosmic titan. Here's the tale of the tape for Avengers Infinity War vs. Doctor Strange. Here we go. Release date. Avengers Infinity War release date, April 27th, 2018. I'm telling you that last week in April, first week in May, Marvel, that's their gimmick. And then Doctor Strange, we're looking at November 4th, 2016. This was, Infinity War ended, was towards the end of Phase 3, and Doctor Strange was, one of the lead-ups going into Phase 3, if I'm correct, right, Liam?
Yeah, I think, Doctor Strange came right after, sorry.
Well, it was in
like
Phase 3.
a packed, it was in like a packed year. Yeah, same year as Civil War.
Phase 3 was nuts. Phase 3 was so nuts. But, yeah, so either way, so that's where we're at with that. But it's, it is what it is. Everyone in Phase 3 was kind of a slabberknacker, if you know what I mean. You know. So, okay. So either way, that was release dates. And then, for Phase 3, it started with Civil War, then Doctor Strange. So it was the second movie in Phase 3. And then Infinity War would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the seventh movie in Phase 3. And then there's 11 movies in Phase 3. So Doctor Strange was the second one. Infinity War was the seventh one. And then Far From Home became the last one. But either way, okay. So let's keep it moving. Keep it on moving down the road. Then the runtime. Doctor Strange runtime, we're looking at 1 hour and 55 minutes. And then Avengers Infinity War, 2 hours and 29 minutes. I'm telling you, Avengers Infinity War is so good. I watched it on a plane twice. So good.
Hmm.
Then we're looking at film budget. Doctor Strange film budget 165 million, and film budget for Avengers Infinity War 400 million dollars, daddy, million. Opening weekend box office gross. Doctor Strange 85.1 million opening weekend box office gross. Avengers Infinity War 257.7 million opening weekend box office gross. I remember it was whoa wild.
Yeah.
Especially when people started talking about all the dust everywhere. Everyone's dusted. All the
Yep.
ashes. And
Dusted in the
then
movie theater.
oh, dude, dusted like wild in the movie theater. And then week worldwide box office gross, total worldwide box office gross. Doctor Strange did well, 677.8 million worldwide box office gross. Pretty good, pretty good. Avengers
Yeah.
Infinity War, yeah, pretty good for a single origin, right?
And for about a quarter of the budget of Infinity War, you know what I mean? That's not bad. Make a half a
With
billion
only
dollars off a
like
movie.
half the, I don't even think any of the major Avengers were in Doctor Strange, right? It was just Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah, pretty much him and like Mordo and yeah, I mean none of them are actually
But it wasn't like you
Avengers.
didn't get Thor, Hulk, Cap, Iron
You
Man.
get
Like
a
you
little
didn't get
like
it.
peek of Thor at the end, like in the cutscene, but I don't count that.
No, I don't count that either. He's not part of the main story.
Yeah.
And then worldwide box office gross for Avengers Infinity War, Lishmoosh, we're looking at $2.048 billion, daddy. $1 billion. I'd have to think, I would imagine, and I might be wrong, you might have to fact check me, but the Russos have to be the highest grossing
Oh, I can't imagine.
directors, like both if Endgame, Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, Captain America Winter Soldier, like they have to, like all of those were, I don't think Winter Soldier was, but all the other ones were billionaires, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
They have to be up there with the highest grossing directors in the Infinity Saga. But and then the okay, and then yeah, so directors for Infinity War were the Russo brothers, and then directors for Doctor Strange was Scott Derrickson. You know much about Scott Derrickson?
I actually don't.
No.
What else does no, I actually don't. Sorry.
I never heard of him before this. And then, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know if he has, like, his genre was mystical. I don't know if you could say. But I'm looking at his director credits. So, well, he was more of a producer. So, let's see. All right. So, as a director, right, he's done The Gorge, which I
The
just
Black
saw, which
Phone.
was okay. Black Phone, Snowpiercer, this TV series. He did Doctor Strange, Deliver Us from Evil, Sinister, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Hellraiser Inferno, Love and Reigns, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Are you a horror guy by any chance, Lishmoosh?
It's I mean I do like some horror stuff, I don't dislike it. There's some that like I really like. When I was a kid, I watch it more. Like we used to watch all the Halloween movies a lot and
Yeah.
like Jason and stuff.
But
That was
they had
like you
titties, though.
yeah. Well, no, just that and just like I don't know, something about when you're like, a kid that age, you're sleeping over with all your buddies and stuff,
Yeah.
watching a bunch
Yeah.
of people get murdered. Maybe because it's like
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be watching it, so that's why
Hmm.
you want to watch it. That
I
kind of
feel like
thing.
there was that phase for sure. I remember that
Yeah.
phase.
Oh yeah.
You know, but then like if you start smoking weed, you're like, I do not want to watch a murder thing. I'm
Yeah, pretty
already
much.
paranoid enough. I'm like, guys, what are we doing? I don't want a heart attack here. But okay, so well, that does it for Tail of the Tape. You got anything else for Tail of the Tape, Lishmoosh?
No, just that I was impressed to hear that, the budget was so much less for Doctor Strange when they really did have like a lot of the
Oh,
visuals and effects in
yeah,
that movie were pretty good. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
as good as any movie you would see, you know?
It was post Inception too, and I feel like they used like an Inception roadmap for the
Oh
filming
yeah.
of that. You
Oh yeah.
know,
For like the parts in the city where yeah, yeah. Yep.
big time. Oh, big time. You can see a lot of influence from Inception.
Oh
But
yeah.
either way, we'll get into that more. So I'm super excited to get into this. That's all we got for Tail of the Tape. Let's head on to round one. Round one. Fight! It's time for round one. I'm gonna let the expert, the comic Marvel expert Liam Reese, take over, give us his rundown. He's gonna be grading this on three things. The first thing we're gonna go over is how true it is, the story is to the comic book. Then we're gonna go over the fight scenes and action, and then third we're gonna grade it on his how is it as a standalone movie. So, expert Liam Reese, take it away, Daddy.
All right, Matt. We're gonna do what we did last week. I think from now on we're just gonna go straight up. We're gonna do these in chronological order because that's the
Smart,
easiest way to
smart.
decide, I think.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with Doctor Strange. And if you remember, we're looking for a couple categories, got a couple different things I'm looking for. First being like, does it is it like respectful to source material? More importantly, is it disrespectful to the source material? Because that's to me
Ooh,
is where you lose like major points with these
talk to me, Daddy.
movies. So for Doctor Strange, I mean, really, for like his origin story, they didn't change much. Like in the comics, he crushes his hands and stuff, and he was a skilled surgeon, and even goes to the Carmitage. Well, he goes to seek out the Ancient One to like fix his hands and everything, and he's got a huge ego and whatnot. So they pretty much like stuck to that. They changed a
Hmm.
couple things, like the Ancient One is like was like a Tibetan man, not a chick, not like a lady. But I didn't think it really mattered. Like that character, I still think
Are you
she
saying
did really good.
the Tilda Swinton character?
Yeah, the
Okay.
ancient one. That's like a supposed to be a Tibetan monk, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
I think where they really kind of like this is the first movie I can really say where like I kind of like had to knock off some points for is like Mordo is Doctor Strange's like, one of his oldest foes. He's like like an evil version of Doctor Strange in the comic, and he would have been like the perfect villain for that movie. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, he trains with the Ancient One and everything, but he would have been, I think, a more suitable than Caecilius, the other guy. Caecilius, I did not think was like a great choice as like your
Can you give me a
villain.
comparison on power level of Mordo? Like, is he like a Kang level power, or is he
Well,
ego? Like, where's he fall?
Well, these magic guys, like the limit for like the magic power guys, there's like this, especially these kind, is like the spells they can do. How skilled are you with spells? So the
Yeah.
more skilled you get, the more you can do. There's really no
Well,
like
also, well, I
limit.
mean, like, but if you have the time stone, you have like some extra juice, I assume, to do the spells, right?
Yeah,
Because Strange has the time stone or would get the time stone, and he like if you and more if Strange and Mordo can do the same spell, right, and execute it the same way, Strange is gonna win because he's backed by the time stone, correct? Is
well,
that
and he's just more skilled. Like they say, like
okay?
he's just a little bit better. He can remember them more. He's just like the natural. He's just a natural sorcerer. You know what I mean?
So
That's
being
like what
like
makes him so good.
So having like the skills under pressure and like the memory capabilities and things like that and being able to recall stuff like that, that's a huge part of being like a good Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah, and they kind of like allude to that he was like born for it. You know what I mean? That it's like
Okay.
fate. It was like kind of like predestined that if he was going to be the
If
sorcerer
they
supreme and
control
everything.
time, if they're like the time people, did they know like coming up like did were they able to influence him being born for it or no?
I don't know about that, but they kind of like know what's happening. Like she kind of alludes to it. Like, remember in Endgame, she's like, "Well, Stephen Strange, you're 2 years too early. Stephen Strange isn't here yet," and all that stuff. So like
Yeah.
they know stuff.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Okay.
yeah, I just think for
And
that one, sorry.
Well, another question. Sorry, I know I keep harping on the time stone. Then, being that they're the guardians of the time stone, right? Does that mean they're fully aware of like the power of these stones?
Oh yeah.
Any like
Oh yeah.
so they kind of knew ahead of time, like, hey, these stones you need to do like this one is a sacred one. There's other ones out there. If you see them, don't put them on your helmet like a twat. Fucking hide it, protect it, and make
Yeah.
sure no one can just pluck it off you if they
Well,
got a
yeah,
fucking metal hand.
that was like their whole thing. If you watch the movie, like their whole thing is
Yeah,
those sanctums, like, yeah, they're there to like, pretty much guard Earth from all like magic threats and everything. And the
yeah,
Sorcerer Supreme, remember, he's like wearing, he's always, like, and she had it too. Like the ancient one, she
yeah,
had the stone when Hulk went to go look
yeah,
for it in Endgame.
yeah,
So that like
yeah.
pretty much, if you're the Sorcerer Supreme, if you're the one, you're at the
Mm-hmm.
top, then I think you're pretty much like you're in charge of it and you guard it with your
Agree.
life.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, all right. So we've touched on it enough. Where would you rank? Can I ask you, like, one of the things I like to know is where would you rank Doctor Strange in power, right? Because think about this. Like, yes, Tony Stark is super gifted mechanically with like building things and designing his suit and everything like that, right?
I
But he
think,
does get help with from Jarvis and stuff. So like he does have some skill there, right? But
yeah,
then, like, and then obviously Banner, he has some scientific skills. But you look at Thor. Thor doesn't need to have a great memory. Star Lord doesn't need to have a great memory. Black Panther, he is smart, but he doesn't need to have like an amazing recall memory and things like that. It seems to me like Doctor Strange needs to be genius level smart to be able to be a good Doctor Strange, right?
yeah, yeah, pretty much. He's got to be able to like recall this stuff, and he's got to like be on his toes too. You know what I mean? He's got to be able to think on his toes and not crack under pressure and everything.
Yeah.
Because really, like you're talking about where he ranks among these heroes. I mean, I think, is like Tony Stark is awesome. I love Iron Man and everything, but I think he's like miles ahead of somebody like Iron Man, like power wise. I think somebody like Doctor Strange, there is like not really a limit to the powers he has and like what
Yeah.
he can do. The limits are like what spells, like what magic artifacts are like is he in possession of right now? Like what books does he have? What spells? That's like the limits to what he can do.
Nice. All right. Cool. I've twisted your ear long enough about old
Mhm.
Doctor Strange. What do you got? So the next thing you would grade on is the fight scene action, correct?
Yeah, action and fights. Um, this,
Trippy. Very
yeah,
trippy.
yeah. So I think for this movie, like the action and fight scenes are like what bumps this movie up like higher than it would be. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the fight scenes in here, like when they go into like the mirror dimension and stuff, and they're running up the buildings, and then the buildings are like collapsing into themselves and
Yeah.
everything, and
Really cool.
it's yeah, there's some really cool visuals in here. They're
And
like the
visually they did a really good job.
They did an amazing job, I thought. It's
Yeah.
some of
Agreed.
the best. You go back and watch that movie was made almost 10 years ago now, and
Yeah.
like
2016.
yeah, like how does it look better now? Like you know what I mean? It looks like you could have put it out today and nobody would
Held
notice at
up.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Held up.
absolutely it holds up. And even aside from that, like just some of the stuff was like, like the when he's fighting in the hospital and they both are like in their astral form and they're like kind of, remember when he's dying and she's shocking him with the defibrillator or whatever,
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
jump pack or whatever. Yeah, when she hits him with it, he's holding the guy and he like hits him with the charge. That was pretty cool, I thought. And the fight in the uh like in the sanctum, like when he was
Yeah.
running around with all the artifacts, when the cloak finally like chooses him and everything, and
Yeah.
that scene I thought was really cool.
Same. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. But as far as all that goes, and like the last one where he's like
Yeah.
fighting Dormammu and they keep killing him over and over again and stuff. I thought that like Dark Dimension looked really cool. And
Can
just
I ask? I mean, that to me though, it did get kind of confusing, and that's kind of where I lose it with this one, is that it got a little tough for me to follow there, you know? Did you have any, I mean, you probably didn't have a problem because you're very familiar with the
what, that he was
material.
like in a time loop, or that he was in
Yeah.
another dimension, that he was in a dark
Like
dimension.
time
That
loop,
was,
it's both, right? Like he's in another dimension, another time loop fighting Dormammu. Like I don't know. To me, like when we got there, being there, and then winning that battle, to me it was a little difficult to follow.
and you know why? Because honestly, and I'll get to that in category three, I think at that point in the movie, they were kind of, that part of the movie was kind of crowded. They were trying to wrap up too many storylines and everything at once. That ending was rushed. You know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. Like the beginning of the movie, I think they spent a lot of time on him being, a
Character
doctor,
development,
and
getting to know, you
yeah,
had to know he
yeah,
was a cocky prick. You
which
had
is
to know,
fine.
right? That's what you want. I want character development.
Yeah,
Right.
which is fine, but the movie wasn't even 2 hours, so I don't understand why they couldn't add, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes just to kind of like, just to
Maybe get
kind of,
another training montage in there or
or no,
something.
just to kind of put the viewer, like, so that they weren't just, so you're not just kind of like thrown into like, okay, he's in the dark dimension, he's fighting now.
Yeah, yeah. Like
But
this
that's
is the bad
actually,
guy, he's the good guy, blah blah blah. Right,
yeah,
right.
and that's the
Yeah.
first time you really see Dormammu, except for when she's, remember when she like puts her finger on his head and shows him all the dimensions and everything. You really
Yeah.
only see Dormammu's eyes for like a second in that little, like when they're flashing through all that stuff. But
Yeah.
other than
Agreed.
that, that's the first time. That's the first time you hear him speak or interact with anybody.
Yeah.
So I just, but that's a perfect segue. We can get into category three.
All right. Category three, which is the
Just, is this
standalone
movie,
movie.
yeah, yeah, how is this movie, like, is this, the question is this a good movie? If there
Hmm.
was, if you knew nothing about comics, knew nothing about this character, if you just turned it on, is it a good movie?
I
And
mean,
I
let's look
think,
at it's a redemption arc, right?
yeah.
He's trying to redeem himself to the woman he loved and like trying to
Hmm.
find a way to save her, you know. So you
and
have the
i think
redemption arc.
And I think like the as far as that goes, like with Christine, like the love interest and stuff, they didn't like, there was like the perfect amount of that. You know what I mean? And when she
Yeah.
was in the
Didn't
scenes,
overdo it.
yeah, yeah, they did not, like they
Did a good
sometimes
job with
do
that.
in movies, is that it was like just the right amount. And she didn't really like, what am I trying to say? They didn't have to like force anything, you know?
Nope.
She seemed like all her scenes seemed natural, and that they weren't trying to like, shoehorn anything into the movie.
Yeah.
But so I think the answer to that question is simple, is yes, it is a good movie. Specifically for like the visuals and the fights and stuff that are in the middle of the movie, when they're in the, that's an entertaining movie. It's a good
Hmm.
watch and everything.
Hmm.
I don't think you can,
Creative, inventive. It's something off the beaten path of like I like what they're fighting with too. You know what I mean? Like
uh
you can only watch so many smack 'em, punch 'em, kick 'em, twist 'ems. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I really like the powers that they used and the
yep,
different style of magic and like how they explain where they get the magic and how they use it as a form. Like all that stuff really good. You
yep,
know, and how they've explained it and like made you understand like okay, this is what we're doing with it, this is how it works. Like great job with that, I agree, and it really helped expand the universe as well. Like oh shit, we can do this too, okay,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and they really, like, that was the first time they really touched on there being multiple universes and everything. And so at the time when it came out, that was pretty interesting.
Now
Um
that's so old hat.
yeah, now I say, yeah, now they like, now
Now
they're
you say
overdoing it.
multiverse
Now
and you're
they,
like
yeah,
yes, we all
yeah,
know
and
the
you're like, okay,
multiverse.
yeah, we get it. Okay. You know, but so is it a good movie? Yes. Is it like a very, very, very good movie? Is it a top level movie? I don't know. I think it like kind of just falls short. I think it's like the top of like the middle level movies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like
I would
the
agree.
very
Great
top. It's
origin story.
yeah,
Great
it's the
origin.
best of, which is not like a knock on it. It's a good movie. It's a watchable movie, but I don't think it like crosses over into that like great
No,
realm, you know? And
no.
mainly for me, it's because of like Caecilius that I just could not I didn't find him to be like a like a moving villain. I'm sorry, I just didn't like
No,
it.
the villain makes the movie, man.
His motivations were just silly. I thought, it
Agreed.
just
Agreed. It's not like we've talked about it before on this show. You know what it like the best villains are the ones that you can kind of relate to. You know, like
hmm
this guy, no one I could give a shit. You know, by the time we get to it, I'm just like, all right, just he has to beat him, right? Okay, then fucking beat him. You know.
yeah,
So
and
I'm with you. Do you have you got a number?
I do have a score. And
Hit
like
me.
I said, I think this is like the when you get to like the top of like these are the medium like watchable movies. I'll give it like an 8.4 because
Okay.
I can't go 8.5 or higher because to me that's when you're getting into like the good
Yeah.
movies. And I
I
think this
don't
is
know.
like
I feel like this is a 7-9, you know?
7, 9. I mean, I can't even argue that. I think the visuals like and that stuff
Okay.
is
Yeah.
I
And like
think
what I'm saying about explaining the world and stuff, like
yeah.
they did. You're right. Okay. Okay. You're right. Maybe I'm a
I
little
think
cruel.
that gives it like it's deserving of, a half a
At least
point
an 8.
because
Yeah.
you're right. Other than it's a 7, 9, and that's what you end up with in the sequel. You know what I mean? Is like a 7, 9 movie because they just I don't know. Well, there's other issues with that movie, but I just, I wasn't sold on Caecilius and the fact of the climax being like rushed. I think if you add a half hour to this movie and kind of like and you handle like the pacing issues and everything, then I think the movie ends up being better and it would end up being one of the better movies. But other than that, yeah. So that's where I stand. 8.4.
Love it. All right. Cool. So that does it for Doctor Strange. Now we're going to move on to Avengers Infinity War, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, daddy. I mean, babe, I went and saw this movie in theaters by myself. And that is the first time I'd ever done that. But all anyone could talk about was Avengers Infinity War. And I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
fuck it. I need to see it. And then I remember I had to take a really long plane ride not long after it, or like, within the same 6 months. And it was then
hmm
out, and I watched it twice on the way to our place because we're going to Europe, twice on the way there, and once on the way back on the plane. It's so good. I've honestly, this one, I don't know. I'm in the Infinity War is better than Endgame camp. I fucking love Infinity
I think
War.
that's not even a question that it's better than
I love it.
Endgame.
I mean, let's talk about it. Give me okay.
Yeah,
First thing,
let's get
where
into it, brother.
let's get into it, Dice. All right, we're talking Avengers: Infinity War. Remember, we're grading on three different things. First thing is true to the source material. How close is it to the comic book? Then we're gonna grade on the battle and fight scenes, and then we're gonna grade on the standalone movie.
Yeah,
So, Liam, if you please, let's get into the how true is it to the source material. Go ahead, Daddy.
yeah. Does it respect the source material? Does it disrespect? I think it absolutely respects the source material,
Oh.
even more so than Endgame. Like the snap that happens in Infinity Gauntlet, like he does do the snap. The Black Order, like collecting the stones and stuff, that happens in these comics, dude.
Hmm.
And the only things that are like missing, I think they kind of like evened out anyway. Like there's no
Yeah.
Mistress Death, but I think at that point they might have been afraid that they were gonna I
What
don't
is
know.
Mr. Steph?
So she's like one of these. She's just like death.
Oh,
But
Mistress Death? Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. She so
I
in the
mean, we
comics
talked about it before though, where like the real reason I think honestly, like I like Thanos' reasoning that they chose, that
yeah
he's like, we got a finite like so in the comic books, his original reasoning for doing all this stuff is because he wanted to impress Mistress Death. Is that
yeah
right?
who thinks
Okay,
that there's an imbalance and that half the people should die. So in a roundabout way, it is the reason from the comics. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like she just
So
wanted half the people gone, and he just wanted to do whatever she wanted.
so
So
Mistress Death is a villain, and
yeah,
Thanos has a thing for Mistress Death,
yeah, he
right?
loves her. He dies doing something, fighting, fighting heroes. He dies, but then she brings him back to life, and
Yeah. I mean,
then he
chicks
just
hate a clingy guy, right? Am I right?
yeah, yeah, and really he
He's just
spends
like,
like all
oh
that.
my God, enough. Go back alive.
And
Get away from me.
he spends all this time trying to like, trying to impress her and everything. She doesn't really care.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I'll tell you what, if he didn't want to impress her, she would fucking love the death out of him. She
yeah,
would
yeah,
love him to
if you act like
pieces.
you don't care, it works. Just like
If
they
he
said
was
in
like, you know what, Death, I'm gonna double resources, keep all these people alive. She's gonna be like, what? No, I'll suck your dick. Just kill
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Blah.
Yeah, if he's
Right?
like, you know
Like,
what? I'm gonna double both and just make it an
yeah,
even bigger problem. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
just gonna do the
No,
opposite of what you want.
I would love. I mean, God, I would have loved in the comic books is like if he's about to go through with this thing and he's like, you know what, I got this demon in me. I'm just gonna burn, whack one out, and then he gets some post nut clarity, and he's like, what am I doing for
Yeah.
her? She's only a
Yeah, and then he just
9.
goes. Yeah, and then he just goes straight to the farm to retire, which that's
Yeah,
part of it too. Like at the end of this movie, when he goes to retire at the farm, that
that's
he
a real
retires.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real thing. He like retires at a farm, which is
Nice.
funny. And so I thought it got bonus points for Captain America. Like as you go through the movies, he becomes more and more like disillusioned with like
Yeah,
the idea of Captain America, and he kind of gets into that like nomad where like if you watch like the white star's not on his chest anymore and he's just kind of wearing
yeah,
like a darker outfit, and that's when he becomes like nomad in the comics. So
yeah.
to me that's like bonus. And him standing up to Thanos. Remember when Thanos like goes to hit him and he's
Oh
holding
yeah, and
it
he
and it's like
catches. Yeah,
and he's so obviously overpowered, but he's standing up to him. That
yeah, and
happens
he's
in a
yeah.
roundabout way. That happens in Infinity Gauntlet too. So
Okay.
they kicked
The,
ass in
so
that category.
So the real name of the comic is Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean that's where it seems like they're pulling most of their stuff from.
Okay.
You
All
know.
right. All right, let's talk about this. Can we just go over let's go over a couple things. I love a great start to a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
This movie starts guns fucking blazing,
It sure
right?
does.
We get into it. It's the abandoned ship from Asgard that was at the end of Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's the abandoned ship, and we hear them like, "Hey, please help! No, please don't destroy us. We're a peaceful vessel." Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you show up with Thor getting his fucking teeth kicked in,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Then
pretty much.
you see like Loki being thrown around. Then Hulk jumps in and gets pieced the fuck up by Thanos, right? Gets
Yeah, which
pieced the fuck up.
I wasn't big on that. Like he
Well,
didn't
I
land
wasn't big
any.
on.
He
Yeah,
just gets beat the fuck up with
yeah.
Thanos. Like I don't know, man.
With no gauntlet either. Like how like that
He
they
did have one
really
of them. He did have one of them, but
but
he had
but
one stone at that point. But Hulk is
they
the
were
Hulk. Like Hulk gets stronger
they
the angrier he gets and stuff. I don't think he would just get completely pieced up. Like I
I
don't know, man.
agree, and like they didn't do a good job. The last two movies really didn't do a good job of putting Hulk over because going into this, I would have put like Hulk as an even match for Thanos, and then after
Hmm.
this, I'm like Hulk's not even like they said it right away. Like no, Hulk's not a match for him
Yeah,
at
they like
all.
nerfed him because of that. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
like,
so like Hulk gets smashed, then they fucking kill Loki
yeah.
right off the bat.
So
They
I did.
kill Loki.
Yeah, that part was pretty cool. Yeah, so perfect segue. Let's just get right to category two, the action. You already kicked us off because you talked about how the movie started. That part's
Hmm.
awesome when
Yep.
Loki gets, you know what I mean? Like he appears
Yep.
that knife behind him and stuff, and he
Uh-huh.
tries to get. Yeah, that's a pretty intense scene, dude. That's a good good action scene, and then they
I
send
mean,
Hulk down, and then they really
yeah,
do get like right into it. They send Hulk down to
they
the
go right to New
strange,
York.
yeah, to the Sanctorum or whatever, and
Yep.
he tells them Thanos is coming, and they
They
go get
get
Tony. They
Tony.
go get Tony
Yeah.
Stark, and while they're sitting there talking to Doctor Strange, a couple of the people come down. Black Dwarf and
Maw,
Ebony
right?
Maw. Yeah, yeah.
Dude, the Maw, total powerful guy. Really powerful,
Oh yeah,
right?
he's cool in that
But
movie.
he's
He's
also
very cool.
like totally devoted to Thanos, you know?
Yeah, I mean they all
But
are. A lot of them are like children of
the
Thanos.
children of Thanos,
Yeah,
yeah.
just like he like how he like adopts like Gamora and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like it's he kind of like finds people and manipulates them into doing what he wants. Insanely powerful and like deadly people, but
Well, like also he finds people like, oh, you like killing millions and millions of people, guys? Come on, come on, we'll kill millions, we'll kill millions,
yeah,
billions even. And
yeah,
Maul's like, ooh, I love that, you know.
hmm
So no, they showed up, really cool fight scene, right? They
yeah.
fucking bitched Hulk though. I do not like that Hulk
Yeah, me
got
neither.
bitched.
It's
You know,
that is a that is like the
tough pill to
one
swallow.
reoccurring. Yeah, that's a tough
Yeah,
one, man. It's
I'll tell you. Then they go from this, right? And then they
hmm
have the interaction with the Guardians and Thor for the first time,
Oh yeah,
right? Which
yeah,
was awesome.
yeah,
Just awesome. I love when Peter Quill is like imitating his
yeah. Pretending
voice.
to have a deeper
Oh, it's
voice and
so
stuff.
good.
Yeah.
So good. Really did like the Russos do a good job of adding brevity. You know what I mean? They
hmm
do a good job with that as long as it's not fucking
And
corned
not
out, you
overdoing
know.
it. They don't
No.
overdo it.
No.
Then after that, he immediately starts talking about how like, his brother or he had to kill his sister because his dad had her in hell and stuff. And then
Yeah.
he's like, we got to go get something to kill Thanos and everything. And then it turns to serious because Gamora realizes he's trying to collect stones and like do
Yeah.
his thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
And
then they go, yeah, and then they go from there, and then they go back to Scotland, right? And then that's where they're, dude, this is one of my, honestly, every time I see it, I get so fucking hyped up.
in
When,
Scotland.
yeah, well, it's Edinburgh when it's Vision and Scarlet Witch are hooking up.
Oh yes, yeah, that scene is awesome. You're right.
Really
That
good. But
one,
the best part about it is when everyone freezes, the train goes by, and on
yeah,
the other side of the train, you get a bearded Cap stepping out of the
yeah,
dark with the music going. Dude,
yeah, and
I
he
was like,
catches
I'm
that staff.
fuck.
Remember, she
Oh,
throws that staff and he
yep.
catches it and
Bam,
like,
bam.
yeah,
Yeah, and the music's playing. Oh, dude, that's fucking
dude,
cinema. I was
Tony
so
Stark.
ready.
I think Robert Downey Jr. like, yes, he's perfect Tony Stark and everything, but fucking Chris Evans, I think, it was right there with him, dude.
Agreed.
He like pretty
Owned
much,
it. Absolutely
yeah,
owned
he
it.
owned the shit out of that character, man.
Yeah, he really did. And
Um,
he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Loved every second of it. So then the really good fight scene there, really good reintroduction of Cap after Civil War, because it's the first
uh-huh,
time we see him since Civil War. First time we saw Tone, I think,
yep.
since Civil War, you know. So they're doing things and then, you know,
Then they catch up with Thanos at nowhere. Remember,
yeah.
they're trying to beat him to the
What
stone.
a scene.
Yeah.
What a scene.
Yeah,
Right?
and then they think they got him. Dude, this is great like sci-fi.
Great
You know what I mean?
storytelling. Oh,
Yeah.
what a scene, dude, when he's holding her in front of him and she's
Yep.
like, she's asked you to do it. Let's fucking see,
Yeah.
boy. See what you want to date my daughter. Let's see fucking how man you are. And he fucking pulled the trigger on her.
Yeah.
But
And
he
then bubbles
bubbled
come
it.
out.
Yeah. But he pulled the trigger on her like
Yeah.
she wanted. Like that's a
Yeah.
fucking man move. I mean, I like how Thanos is, you know what? I like him. I
Yeah, I
like
mean he promised, He
yeah, he man of his word. You had to do it, but
Yep.
really good. Like that scene was fucking powerful, man.
Yep.
So powerful. Gave you real insight to all the characters, the real feelings that they have for each other. Really, really good stuff. Then you kind of, I think you catch up with, like, you go to Wakanda, like, they're setting that
Yeah,
up. So,
which
like, you
is
go to
really
Wakanda, you catch up with Thor and Rocket, and they're, like, going to
well. No, first
Nivenalier.
they first the fight starts at Wakanda. You know what I mean? And like they're kind of starting to like Black Order and Thanos' army and everything. They're
Well,
kind of
like,
starting to get the upper hand, and then Thor comes down. Remember, they make the Stormbreaker, and then he
yeah.
comes down, and then that's when Bruce Banner's like, "Oh, you
Oh,
guys are all screwed now," and he just starts,
yeah.
murking all
Wailing.
of them with the Stormbreaker.
But,
That
dude,
that
this is
scene
the
is really
same, but
cool,
also the same time they're having the battle on Titan, which
which I think is
was,
the best scene in the movie. When you have
uh,
when all of them are working together to try to get the gauntlet
yeah.
off of his arm, I think that one steals the show.
Also,
Doctor
like,
Strange, pretty much
yeah.
that fight is awesome. You know?
Dude, also remember adding brevity because when they get Thanos in the trap, first thing Quill says is my plan, by the way. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
adding and
Yep.
also like the lines, dude, when we have the initial interaction between the Guardians and like, Tony and Strange and them, when he's like, why is Gamora?
Yeah. I
What
mean,
is what is a Gamora? I'll tell you one better. Who's a Gamora? I'll tell you
yeah.
one better. Why is a Gamora?
Yeah.
Fucking so
Yeah,
good,
Drax Bautista is great as Drax.
dude.
It's
What?
not that's not really like how Drax is. That's kind of like away from the source material, but he pulls it off in a way that you can't be mad at it because his character is fucking hilarious in all those
Oh,
movies, dude. He's great.
dude, I love too. Like one of the lines when they were talking to Manus and Drax, and like, what do you guys do exactly? And Manus goes, kick names and take ass. And then
Yeah.
Drax
He's
just goes,
yawning. They're about to fight. They're about to fight Thanos, and he starts
yeah.
yawning. And he's like, "I'm sorry, are you yawning?"
He's like, yeah, you're incredibly boring.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no,
Bautista's
yeah,
good, man.
yeah,
He's very good as Drax, man.
yeah, he nailed it. And then, dude, I mean, then like the battle scene, like the culmination of the battle scene, one when, when they lose, right, and he gives the time stone to Thanos, and he fucking
Uh-huh.
time loops. Then
Uh-huh.
they get to the woods, and Scarlet Witch fucking kills Vision,
Yeah.
right? She
Yep.
kills Vision, destroys the stone. He just goes, "Oh, that was great." Whoop, brings it back and fucking goes blink and just takes the stone.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's an intense
so
movie, dude. It
good,
really is.
dude. And then I mean, the most intense scene. You know what I'm gonna say?
Is when Thor comes down and hammers it
No,
into
no,
his
no.
chest.
I'm saying, I
Oh,
guess, I
oh,
get,
when he snaps him and Spider-Man is
yeah,
that
yeah.
was like the heartbreaker for everybody is, that
Mr.
one I
Stark,
think
I don't feel so
yeah.
good, Mr. Stark. No, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's
die. Oh my
that
god,
that
that was so good.
that one was definitely a heartbreaker, dude, without a doubt.
So good.
Uh,
So good. Dude, I remember choking up in the theater, be like, fucking, no, Peter, Peter. It was
yeah,
so good.
Tom Holland's a good actor.
Great
He
actor.
played, yeah.
So, okay. And then they know, like, they just leave it with all of them in the dust, like, fuck. And you see
Yeah.
Thanos in the garden, daddy. All
Yeah.
them in the dust, Thanos in the garden, right? And
Yeah.
like that's where we leave it. I mean, Infinity War is so fucking good.
It
It is.
is.
I think it's better than Endgame. It's the Return of the Jedi. The bad guys
It is
lose,
better than
or the good
Endgame.
guys lose. Like
Yeah.
they get to fucking take a whipping. See how you come back from this fucking whipping, because they got a whipping, daddy. They got a
Yeah.
good old fucking whipping by Thanos. He
Well,
beat all of them.
I just think the pacing and the story and just but not to say Endgame is bad by any stretch of the imagination,
No.
but they just did it that like Infinity War was just perfect. They did those things
Also,
perfectly.
I remember, and I think I asked you about this, Liam. I remember going, or I don't know who I asked about this, but going into this, I remember saying, like, so, like, I was like, all these people are in it. And they're like, oh yeah, Guardians is in it, Thor is in it,
Mhm.
Tony's in it, Cap's in it, Wakanda's in it because they got Black Panther all up in it, you
Mhm.
know, right? Like the whole thing. And I'm like, how do they fit it? And they're like, the pacing's perfect. They move the story along perfectly. The editing was flawless. Like you don't think like there's too much at any point. You're easy to follow, easy to keep track. Easy. They did an amazing job of
Yeah.
that. And I will
Yeah.
say that as well. They did an incredible job. And I remember thinking, like, how are they going to piece all this together? And they fucking nail it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, okay. So then what's the final category? Standalone movie.
Category is this a good movie? Like even if you knew nothing about comics, I
Think
think
about the,
that
I mean, like, you look at the powerful scenes, right?
uh
You know, I mean, they are made more powerful because we know these characters and have known them for movies. Like
yeah.
the Gamora death scene, right? Like
That
I
is hard
really,
to ignore, like that you saw these characters before, but you don't really see Gamora interact with Thanos until this movie, so I don't
yeah.
think the backstory is
And it
necessary.
was
Like,
great.
yeah, they sell it, like you know that that's
Yeah.
you know, I think
And
that's
her dying, oh my God. Another good one. And I hate, like, that's one of the things about Endgame I did not like is how shitty Black Widow's death scene. You know what I mean? Like, it's
oh
just the
yeah.
fucking annoying thing. I
Especially because of
just,
how good she was in all the other
ugh,
movies and everything. And she was great in that movie up until that point, it's
yeah.
they kind
Yeah.
of that's a story for another day, but they
Yeah.
kind of did her dirty after Endgame, and that movie wasn't that
So,
great.
as a standalone movie,
As a standalone
fucking,
movie, I think I look at it like you answer, is it good on its own? Absolutely.
absolutely.
Infinity War is like it's an almost perfect sci-fi movie, dude.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about last week how The Winter Soldier was a perfect movie, like a perfect you know, espionage, like spy thriller, that kind of thing,
Political
and like
thriller. Yeah.
yeah, and like hand-to-hand action movie. It's a
Yeah.
perfect one of those movies. To me, this is a perfect action movie. They're in outer space, you got aliens, all this crazy
Yeah.
technology,
It looks
people
great.
people with powers, magic, and
Oh,
then you have this epic, insanely powerful villain that is like almost unbeatable,
yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
overseeing all this mayhem and everything.
Yeah.
It's just like
It's
I
the
could
best.
imagine seeing this movie as a kid and it being like do you remember when you saw Star Wars when you were a kid, or when you saw
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
when you saw Terminator 2 when you were a
Oh
kid,
yeah.
and it
Oh
just
yeah.
like it's like one of those movies where like you knew when you saw it, you're like, I fuck it, this is one of the best movies ever. Like, and then you end up
Yeah.
loving it forever. I don't think that
Yeah.
would have been I don't think it would have made a difference what age I saw
Agreed.
this movie. It's one of those ones where you'll just love it forever.
Good is good. Great is great. I agree. What do you
Uh-huh.
got for a score?
Okay. So when I finally gave Infinity War another watch, it became very clear to me that I was not going to be able to score any of the other movies higher than this one. Like I wasn't going to be able to make
Wow.
I wasn't going to be able to make Infinity War lower than any other movie. So
No.
I gave this one a 9.4. I think it's right there. We did Winter Soldier last week, and I gave that a 9.4. To me, these two movies are like 1 and 1A. Like, what are you in the mood for? They're I just I it's hard for me to pick one or the other. This is one of the best movies they made by far. And,
Agreed.
while you're watching it, it's the best one. While you're watching Winter Soldier, that's the best one. So
Ugh.
9.4, that's what I'm sticking with.
Wow. Love that. Love that. The Delucio's Pizza review. Love it. The Delucio's Pizza number. Fantastic stuff. All right. Well, I mean, Liam, I'm so jazzed up after a great round one. Are you ready to
Mhm.
head to round two and see what our
I'm
Overlord thinks?
I'm ready. Yeah, our computer overlords.
Yeah.
Let's see what they have to say.
All righty. Well, that does it for round one. We're heading to round two. Round two. Fight! All right, here we go. So I reached out to our overlord Gemini, and I said, "Hello, Gemini. Can you please tell me what movie you think is better, Avengers: Infinity War or Doctor Strange?" And this is what they had to say. So they said, "This is a choice between an epic culmination and a mythical origin story, both excellent in their own right. If I had to choose which movie they think is better, I think is better overall." I would lean slightly towards.
God damn you, Skynet.
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't even say slightly. It just says I would lean towards. Oh, they got rid of slightly.
Oh,
I would lean
oh,
towards Avengers Infinity War. We saw that coming, Daddy.
yeah.
And they said, here's why. Unprecedented scale and ambition. Infinity War achieved something truly remarkable by seamlessly weaving together dozens of characters and storylines from over a decade of films into a single cohesive and inherently high stakes narrative. The sheer ambition and successful execution of this crossover event are unparalleled in cinematic history. Very true. And then narrative impact and risk taking. The film dared to defy typical blockbuster conventions by allowing the villain to win in a devastating fashion. So true. This
Yep.
bold narrative choice created an immense emotional impact and left audiences genuinely shocked, setting a new standard for superhero storytelling. And then Thanos as a compelling vision. We've talked about that so many times. This
Oh yeah.
film dedicates significant time to developing Thanos as a complex, albeit misguided antagonist. His motivations, while twisted, are clear, and his conviction makes him a truly formidable and memorable opponent. And then, last but not least, they got culmination of arcs. For many characters, Infinity War served as a critical turning point or emotional climax that had been building for years. And then they go on to say, while Doctor Strange is a fantastic film that successfully introduced the mystical side of the MCU with stunning visuals and complex character arc, Infinity War represents a grander, more impactful, and ultimately more groundbreaking cinematic achievement due to its unparalleled scopes, narrative, daring, and the successful payoff of years of interconnected storytelling. So there you go. That does it. Looks like moving on, Avengers Infinity War. We saw that coming. Liam, we are coming to the top of time. What do you got before we rowdy five, Daddy?
For Reality 5, tune in next week. We got another one. You
Tune
know what
in
I mean?
next week for Iron Man, the number 4 ranked Iron Man versus the number 9 ranked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh,
Gonna be a good one.
that is a phenomenal matchup, actually.
Yeah, because I'll tell
Those
you, sleeper.
So you want to talk about neck and neck AI and
Yeah.
slightly, that is a matchup
You're
slightly
going to be
because
slightly leaning somewhere, Daddy.
I'll be doing my homework until next week. But I got to tell you, off the top of my head, that is honestly a
Tough.
tough one. That is a tough one.
That's our boy Jimmy Gunn. Can't knock Jimmy Gunn. Well, speaking of not knocking Jimmy Gunn, this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives Podcast presents Ask AI. I'm Matt Lavelle. He's Liam Reese. And in case you're wondering, you can find all our stuff and all our content and all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. Yeah, also on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast. Join us on Twitter and TikTok at Working P Pod. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. And please like and subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you this incredible content. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Thanks. See ya.